This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy. And today we're going to talk about how to analyze a welcome stranger violation. If you recently purchased the property and they pinned or closely pinned your purchase price, that could be a welcome stranger, essentially selective assessment. Basically, the first thing I do is I FOIL the assessor's data. I get their comparable sales report and their comparable assessment report and their cost valuation report and the cost valuation report for each of the comparables in both the comparable assessment and the comparable sales reports. Okay, so in this particular case, the subject property is the left-hand column. As you can see, it was purchased for $410,000, and so their comparable estimate came out $410,000. It's a miracle they come out into an identical figure. What are the odds of a quantitatively done comparable sales analysis that it comes out to the penny to exactly what you paid for it? It's kind of curious. That might be an indication. So you look at, obviously, if the assessed value is approximately what you paid for it, and previously it had been, significantly less, then you need to analyze it. So there's two kinds of welcome strangers. One is when that particular municipality is not at 100%, and let's just say they're at 70% equalization. And then you buy your property, and they put you at what you paid for it. So then all of a sudden, you are at 100% equalization. But the question is, were the other properties brought up to 100%? Properties that did not sell. And you do a comparable sales analysis, and you can try to determine. And this comparable sales report will help you do that. The other scenario where there could be a welcome stranger, even if the municipality is at 100% and they pin your purchase price, they're going to say, hey, that's what you paid for the property. Well, the thing is, residential properties in New York are typically assessed based on comparable sales adjusted for unequal. So this is the comparable sales report. And then the comparable assessment report would help you determine if it's unequal. And so first I'll give you a scenario of that particular case. Last year I had a property. The property owner paid $1.5 million for it. And what was it? It was December or late November of the previous year. So he pinned the purchase price and added $90,000 on for a partial part of the year. And if everybody were in fact at 100% equalization, I couldn't argue with that analysis. But the question, and he claimed he'd done a revaluation. Well, the question is, did he actually do a revaluation? So I microanalyzed the neighborhood, and it became clear the properties that did not sell had not been adjusted and had not been brought to 100%. So, he had done a revaluation on the properties that had sold. He pinned the purchase prices, but he didn't do that with the other properties, which is unequal. They're required to be value these properties in a uniform manner. So if you're going to pin the price on one, you've got to address them all. And the sale price just isn't indicative. And this comparable sales report will show you that that's the case, because if you look at it, the same property is the subject and it's comp 1 because it sold recently. So they're using the owned property as a comp, which means they know that they can't just use the sale for this property. They have to have other comps. So they use the sale of its own property as one comp, which is perfectly acceptable. And then there's 4 other properties. And then they have to do an analysis. But in this case, they've got all these numbers and all these calculations, but they don't show you how the comparable estimate came out to 410, which coincidentally is what it sold for. So it's pretty obvious, that they just pinned the purchase price, and that's not appropriate if they didn't bring all the properties in line, whether they're at 100% equalization or not. But the biggest culprits are when they're not at 100% equalization, when they haven't done a revaluation in quite some time. That scenario creates a lot of unequals. So what you need to do is you need to overcome the burden of proof by establishing that they selectively assess the property. And you can demonstrate that, and we can demonstrate it right here. This report alone is proof that they selectively assess the property and pin the purchase price, because their comparable analysis came out to the penny to what it sold for. That's not a coincidence. So that would help you overcome the burden of proof. Then you need to establish what the assessment should be. Well, in this case, fair market value is $410,000. We concur. However, we need to demonstrate what the other properties are relative to 100%. And so you analyze the properties that didn't sell. So the comparable assessment report would tell you a lot about that. Other properties that are comparable, that are as good or better, that are assessed for less. And you come up with 5 examples, and if they comp out at like 350, well, 350 divided by 410 is the percentage of fair market value that they're assessed at, and that's what you would argue, and then you'd say your assessment should be 350, as well, in order for to be a uniform percentage, and that's pretty much how you do it. It's unlawful, but they do it all the time, and there's no penalty for them doing it. And if nobody says anything, then they get away with it. And so why would they do it when they know that it's unlawful? Well, because they're under pressure to keep their equalization rates up. And so any place that they can sneak in to try to, bump things up, they're going to do that. And there's no negative repercussions to doing it. And if people don't notice, well, they're going to be paying other people's taxes. And that's pretty much how it works. So, if you recently purchased the property, it's not uncommon for these assessors to pin your purchase price and take it easy on their crony friends, and it's done intentionally, and it's unlawful. So if you purchase the property and you're new in town, particularly what I see a lot is people coming from downstate buying second homes in various parts of upstate New York, usually waterfront properties. They like to stick it to the new people they perceive to be rich and take it easy on their crony friends. And the thing is that these people, they can't even vote, in the local elections. And most of the time, they don't have kids in the school district, so they're paying for other people's kids to go to school. So if they pay your purchase price when you just recently purchased the property, you got to look at whether or not it could possibly be a welcome stranger selective assessment, and check to see if it's unequal. So your argument, on the petitions, is it excessive or unequal? Well, it's not excessive because that's what you paid for it, but it can be unequal when the comparable properties are assessed for significantly less. And you would need to establish that that's the case. This is Mike Franklin, the property tax guy.